Hi, this is Lucy Deckard with Academic Research Funding Strategies, and this video is for researchers who are interested in pursuing research funding from National Science Foundation and are looking for some help in figuring out where within the agency their research might fit. So let me move here to so first of all, this is really focused on understanding how to use the website, nsf.gov, which is very helpful, but it is so extensive, sometimes it can be hard to figure out where to find the program that actually fits you. So for NSF, they fund research through several different mechanisms. One of them is through solicitations, and those are the things, if you're an academic researcher, a lot of times you'll find these coming through in emails. You'll get alerts that say, hey, there's a new solicitation where they're looking for a particular kind of research, and they tend to be very targeted. One thing that sometimes people who are new to NSF don't realize is that a large percentage of the research they fund is actually funded by the core programs, and these are called variously in investigator-initiated proposals, core proposals, unsolicited proposals. Those are all the same thing. So when you look at the history of NSF, it's organized a lot like a university. They have divisions, directorates, and then they have divisions within those directorates, and they have programs. And so you might think of the divisions as sort of like a department. And so they're organized by discipline, and what you want to do is find which program within NSF is most likely to be interested in the kind of research that you do and that you're going to be seeking funding for. So this is the website, and there are many different ways to find the different directorates and divisions and so forth. I find a lot of times this link is the most helpful because it shows everything in one place, and then so I clicked on the quick links, and then I went to the organization link. Okay, and here are all the different organizations within NSF. The Office of the Director houses various cross-cutting offices, and then also some of their administrative offices. But the big things you're looking for are the directorates. So we have the Director of Biological Science, Directorate for Computer and Information Science and Engineering, Education and Human Resources, Engineering, Geosciences, Mathematics and Physical Science, Social, Behavioral, and Economic Sciences, and then these two here are really not, they don't fund research. So what you're looking for is to figure out, okay, which directorate would I fit in, and then which division, and then which program within that division. And it may be that you will fit into more than one, so that's also good to know. So for example, let's say I do research in atmospheric science. So I'm looking and I say, okay, Directorate of Geosciences, Division of Atmospheric and Geospace Sciences. So I'll click on that. And that takes me directly to that particular division within the directorate. See, here's the Directorate of Geosciences. So the one thing to be aware of is that for NSF, each directorate and even each division within each directorate has their own culture, their own way of doing things, and their web pages are different too. So and exactly how they're organized is different. And that's, again, another reason why you have to get to know your particular program, division, and directorate and understand how they do things. So for example, as I was saying, I am doing research in atmospheric sciences. So I see here that there are sections within this particular division. They have the atmosphere section, geospace section, and then the facilities section. Then I'm going to look and say, okay, I want to look for a core program. And as I said before, NSF is organized around these programs which sort of like departments. They're disciplinary in nature, and they fund these unsolicited kinds of proposals. The thing that can be confusing, though, is that sometimes the other things that are more like solicitations are also mixed in here. So what you're seeing here is postdoctoral research fellowships. That's not a core program. You have to kind of look. So here I see atmospheric chemistry. And when it comes up, the thing that's going to tell me that this is a core program is that you'll see this thing, a synopsis. And so what the synopsis is it is just a very broad description of the kinds of research they're interested in. So in contrast to a solicitation that NSF might put out, where they're very specific about the kinds of things they're interested in, this is really a very broad guideline that then leaves it open to the community, to the research community, to give them your best ideas that fit within this kind of broad area. So you can see under the synopsis it supports research to measure and model the concentration and distribution of gases and aerosols in lower and middle atmosphere, supports research on chemical reactions among atmospheric species, and so forth. And you can see that's really very broad. So, and that's all they're going to give you as far as the their kind of guidance on what they're going to fund as far on the website. Not that you don't want to look a little more deeply. This particular program accepts full proposals at any time. Now, that's not true of some of the other ones. We'll go look. Some of the other ones have pretty strict due dates. So the question would be, okay, is this something that might possibly be where I would want to apply for funding? One step after reading this, if it looks like, okay, that looks like maybe that would fit what I do, is then to go down here, and each of these core programs now has this link, what has been funded by this program. Okay, and click on this, and this can be very helpful. And this takes you to the database, the funding database, which is very helpful for many other things. And in a different in a different video, I'll explain some of the other ways you can use this. So they've kind of rehauled this recently, and I'm not crazy about exactly how they're doing this, but you can make this look like it used to by using the table function. Okay, so when you're looking for the table, if you click here, I find this easier to read. So I'm going to get this moved over here. Okay. So what this is telling you is every program that was recently funded, at least partially by this program and their budget, so the atmospheric chemistry program. So, and these are not necessarily just the unsolicited proposals. These may also be responses to solicitations that just happen to be supported by this program. So you want to look through here, and you can see there's this is a RAPID, which is a special funding mechanism for research that needs to be done really quickly. Then they have some of these other ones, understanding northern hemisphere summer season, tropospheric ozone variability, and improved understanding of water isotope fractionation. So as I look through here, I'm looking for things that look like they might be somewhat in my area. If I see nothing that looks anything like what I do, that's a good sign that maybe I'm not looking at the right program. Now here is an MRI, this Major Research Instrumentation program. So this is for instrumentation. This is a specific solicitation that happened to be supported by atmospheric chemistry. So that's going to be different from an unsolicited proposal. Some of these other ones, look like they were unsolicited. Also, you can look if you are applying for a career proposal, which is for untenured, tenured track faculty. You can also look here for ones that start with the word career, and then that will tell you, okay, this was funded out of this program for the career proposal. Then that's very important. If you are interested in going after career, you have to find the right program, because you apply to a particular program. It's for the career grant, but it's actually going to be selected by the program and the review process, their review panels, or however they review in their particular program. So right here, I'm not seeing any careers at the moment, so I'm going to want to go and look a little farther here. And so let's hit next. Here I see a career. All right, here was a career, chemical aging of biomass. That was 2009. Doesn't look like they've funded a whole lot of careers out of this program, does it? So if I were interested in that, I would click on this. And here it gives me a lot more information. So it's telling me what kind of award it was. It tells me who the investigator is, gives me their email address, which can be very helpful, particularly if this happens to be somebody you know or you know of. So again, you're saying, well, I'm not sure this is the right program for me. If you say, oh, I know this guy Dan, he's always on the same conferences I'm in, we do the similar stuff, then that's a good sign. You're probably in the right place. And then you can read the abstract. And then now it has publications that were produced as a result of the research, which can be very helpful. Again, you can look in more detail, see what they actually did, and if this is something that is similar to what you're doing. So once you kind of figured it out, okay, it looks like I've kind of honed in here on this. Now I'm going to go back to this program, and here are the program officers. And sometimes some programs call them program officers, some call them program directors, but and then you can talk to them. And I think that's a very good idea to set up a time. Usually it's a good idea to email them with a short synopsis of what your idea is, your research project might be, and ask if there's a time you can talk to them on the phone. And they really do encourage that. They're very busy, but they really want to see good proposals and proposals that fit into what they're interested in. And that's a little bit of a, kind of brings up a warning here. These synopses sometimes are not even they're not even that current. So this gives you a clue, but you definitely want to talk to the program officer, because I've heard some program officers saying, oh, that synopsis is out of date. And when you have a new program officer come in, they may have different things that they're interested in within this field, but they're going to have things that they think are the hot new thing that they want to support more of. There may be things they feel have been funded to the point where they don't feel that's something that's cutting edge enough for NSF to fund. So talking to the program officer will make a big difference in helping you to understand if what you're thinking of even fits within NSF, or and if it does fit NSF, whether this is the right program or whether this might be appropriate for a different program. So I'm going to go back here and just show you an example of a different program. So I'm going to go back to the organization list here. And so then if I were going to look at, for example, under engineering, okay, and then just to show kind of the differences they have in the different programs. So Division of Civil, Mechanical, and Manufacturing, CMMI. And this is one thing, as you get to know NSF, you'll start to know the jargon. And if this is the place where you're going to go for funding, you're going to start using these acronyms, CMMI, CBET, so forth. And when you're talking to people, they'll know what you're talking about, and it'll become part of your funding community. And so that's important that you get to know, okay, where is it I fit, and then really get to know the language that they use in that particular division, that particular program. So you can see CMMI, they are different. Their particular web page is different. Here's where they show you they have things under clusters. Okay, so here I'm going to, for example, so they have advanced manufacturing, mechanical and engineering materials, resilient and sustainable infrastructures. So right now I'm at the division level. So I'm at the engineering directorate, CMMI division. Now I'm going to go look at this cluster, mechanics and engineering materials. Okay, and then they're showing you the programs that are within that cluster. So I'm going to say, well, I'm interested in biomechanics and mechanobiology. All right. Okay. All right, so here again I can tell I hit pay dirt because I'm at the program level, and because here's the synopsis, and it says what this BMMB program supports fundamental research in biomechanics and mechanobiology, and then it goes on from there. So that tells you again that this is a program, a disciplinary program or core program that you could apply to. Now the difference from the atmospheric chemistry program, though, is that, and this is more typical of a lot of the programs within NSF, is they have due dates. So they have a full proposal window, January 15th through February 15th. That means that they will allow you to submit during that window, not before, not after. And then they have another one, September through October, and then back around January, February. So what they're telling you is that you have 2 windows each year in which you can submit your proposal. Now, some of the other programs actually will have what they call target dates. And a target date is not as firm as a proposal window or a due date, in that you sometimes, if you looks like you might miss it by a couple of days, you can talk to the program officer, and it's very possible that they would say it's okay for you to submit a little bit after that. but you want to talk to the program officer in that case. So here, I think this is helpful, and also they have related programs. And I think it's particularly true within a division, and a division like CMMI, a lot of times you might be kind of between, programs you might be able to fit into more than one. So doing the same thing as we did before, looking at what has been funded, looking at the related programs, and then talking to the program officer will help you decide, okay, should I apply to this program or maybe the biosensing program instead. Another thing to keep in mind is it's often possible to apply to more than one program as an interdisciplinary project. If you do that, though, you want to talk to the program officer beforehand. So think about which program is sort of your main program. What would be the primary? If you're 51% one particular area and 49% another, talk to your primary program and say, okay, I think this is somewhat in your area, but it's also somewhat in this other area. Do you think that I should ask for this to be co-reviewed? And they will tell you. A lot of this also can be impacted by the relationships the different program officers have. Sometimes they'll say, well, I will co-fund with this program, but I don't co-fund with this other program. So there is not only just a logical thing, but also has to do with the way things are set up within NSF. So you'll want to talk to them before you do that. The advantage of doing that, though, is that each program only has to put a smaller amount of money in to support you, so it makes it more attractive to the program officer. The drawback can be that you really do need to be interdisciplinary. You need to be capable of getting good reviews from the two different programs. If you are really in one program and you just have a little flavor of another topic, you're not likely to get good reviews if it clearly doesn't fit in that other program. So you want to make sure it's appropriate, but many programs definitely are, or many projects are co-funded by more than one program. So that's certainly something you might want to explore if it's appropriate for your particular project. So I hope this is helpful, and good luck in finding the right program within NSF.